Okay, everybody, here we are. It's week 10 in the Fantasy Football League. Welcome. It's Mark Wells, your assistant commissioner. We got a big week in the NFC East, the Giants and the Eagles. So I know we have Philly, and trust the process. That'll be watching that one closely. Hard to believe that this game could actually have some playoff implications, and we'll get to that. But I want to take a look at this week's action in the Fantasy Football League, and I want to start out by looking at what ESPN puts forth as the final standing projections. So just as a recap, to start the year, they had listed it as my team coming in first, the Bermuda Bumblebees coming in second, and the Arizona Horned Frogs coming in third. That has shifted a bit over time for a period there. Batter Ray and the Horned Frogs were the projected winner of the league. But what a climb we have seen. Current projections have Big John's Little Pals, who started out the year as the 9th of 10 teams, is now the projected champion for this season. My team, Toga Temptations, after being, I think I slipped all the way down to 6th, has creeped back up to 3rd. Batter has gone from 3rd to 2nd, but back from 1st. And the Bermuda Bumblebees, who got a win last week, but had, I think, a 3-game losing streak prior, is now projected to be 6th. Philly, who's got a big game today, and that's one I'm certainly going to be talking about. We seem to be in a position where we are certainly at the forefront of that final spot, with the Bumblebees right there as well. So we have 3 teams at 5 and 4. And current standings have Big John's Little Pals at 7 and 2, Arizona Horned Frogs at 6 and 3, and Fried Dough to Go at 6 and 3 as well. As you probably know, I am a back-to-back King of Points team, so that my team, I feel, has really come on. Arizona Horned Frogs, who had been the leader by a good margin, is still the overall King of Points as we are through week 9. However, I am now just about 25 points off of that. And based on this week's projections, I am the projected top point scorer. So we'll see how that plays out. But very, very interesting. Big John's Little Pals, your team in first place, is also right there at 1544. And Philly is right there at 1542. So it's going to be nip and tuck. Philly does get Nick Chubb back today, which will be a nice addition for him. We'll see how he plays in his first game back in several weeks. Looking at the scoreboard, we have a couple games really only this week that appear to be of note or appear to be fairly tight. We'll start with my matchup against Team Irrelevance, a team that is 2 and 7. He's lost 2 in a row. Projected final on that game, 171 to 153. Nobody yet has played in this matchup. So we'll both be starting from scratch here at 1 p.m. Looking at the matchup, I do like a couple of the things that he's got going on with the ball club. I think that Michael Thomas and Waller both should have great games today. Baker Mayfield, I'm a little concerned. The last I saw, the weather down there in Houston is going to be, the weather in Cleveland, I apologize. I believe it's going to be pretty rainy there. With Chubb back and Kareem Hunt, I don't necessarily care for that play. But we'll see how that plays out. Saints defense, I do like against San Francisco this week, and he's also got McKinnon playing for San Francisco. On the other side of the ball, I also return one of my key players to the lineup. I've been able to win the King of Points the last couple of weeks without him, and he returns today. So Miles Sanders against the New York Football Giants will be in the backfield for the Eagles at 1 o'clock today. Dalvin Cook has just been unbelievable. 2 consecutive weeks of over 50 points. He appears to be the number one player in fantasy football right now. Lamar Jackson is in a spot where, obviously not playing up to the amount paid for him in the auction. I believe he's currently the 11th ranked quarterback on the season. He gets New England today, so we'll see. He's projected for 25.7 points. Another guy I really like for my matchup, I love John Brown. I think that game in Arizona is going to be a shootout. And the main question mark that I see from my team is Allen Robinson. Will he play tomorrow night? It's always tough when one of your key players is questionable and playing in the last game of the week. With all due respect to Mr. Spice, who we all know just celebrated a birthday this past week, I don't think I feel very confident. I probably shouldn't jinx myself, but I think all in all, there's a lot of guys projected 13, 12, 11, 16. He doesn't have anyone that's really projected for major points on the week, where by contrast, if we look at my ball club, we've got 25, 21, 25, 22, 16. So I just think from a consistency standpoint, I think he's going to need a lot to go right to pull off the victory this week. But of course, we wish him all the luck as him and I go head to head. The other matchup we'll take a look at, and this is a big one. This is big for me, big for anyone that's looking for a playoff push. We have Philly, who stands at 5-4, just like myself and the Bermuda Bumblebees. He is up against the number one team in the league, the Big John's Little Pals. Currently a 9-point favorite against Big John, and he is currently Philly up 27.1-0. He got a nice performance from the Colts defense this past week, scoring 20 points on Thursday night. And he also received 7 points from Taylor. And if you remember, Joe was asking if there's any chance that he could have him drop. So that's a tough one. I think obviously he was expecting or hoping for more out of Taylor on Thursday night, which leaves this game up for what should be a pretty close one. Stephon Diggs, again, I really like that matchup. I think that's the highest scoring game this week projected. The other kind of interesting thing about this matchup, I mentioned in the intro that Nick Chubb returns for Philly this week. Big John also with a member of the Cleveland backfield going up against with Kareem Hunt. So we'll see how they balance the share of the ball there in Cleveland. I would anticipate they'll continue with their running attack, especially if there is the inclement weather as expected. Philly does get Aaron Jones back, so his team could see a major boost. He was another one that had, I think he had maybe the biggest point total of the year earlier this season, and he's been out without Aaron Jones and Nick Chubb for a good portion of the season. Chris Godwin also in the lineup today. So taking a look at it, I do like Tyler Boyd for the Little Pals. I think he's up for a big game today. And anytime, but you have two great quarterbacks, two of the best in fantasy this year in Russell Wilson and Josh Allen. I am going to pick the Philly in this matchup. I just overall like what they have on the field a bit more, although I think this one is certainly, in my opinion, probably will be the closest game of the week. So Philly, my projection will win. Big John's Little Pals should maintain his spot in first place, and it's just going to make those final spots all the tighter as we just have 4 more weeks of regular season action before we get into the playoffs. Another key matchup to keep an eye on. This one will be very interesting. In fact, this could also congest things in the standings. We have Fried Dough to go up against the Bermuda Bumblebees. Both had players go. Neither one performed great. Burton for the Bees scored 5.4 points, and Brown for Fried Dough to go with 3.1 points on Thursday night. The projected score in this one, Bermuda Bumblebees favored 152-136. If by chance this holds up, this projection holds up, we will then have 4 teams at 6-4, which will be interesting. Let's take a quick look. I had forgot that we did have a pretty tight matchup here. Mr. Rogers is playing for Fried Dough to Go, and Carson Wentz. I do like Carson Wentz this week. I think he put up 360 or so passing yards against the Giants earlier this season. Giants I've been impressed with over the last couple of weeks. I think they're a team that's really improving. Rodgers against Jacksonville, you've got to feel like that's a solid matchup for him there. I like Tampa's offense this week. So Ronald Jones is in the backfield for Fried Dough to Go. Metcalf is always a threat for a big day. And I also like Will Fuller. I think that that game, despite the weather that I mentioned, I think he could be up for some good looks there in that matchup. Bills defense for Fried Dough to Go. That one's tough. I mean, I think Arizona, obviously one of the highest scoring teams in the league. I think I probably would have looked elsewhere, although I do like Claypool in there for Fried Dough to Go. For the Bees, Bernard, he's performed very well when Mixon's been out. He also has Duke Johnson, who I think will thrive again. And it seems like we got a lot of players in key matchups in that Cleveland-Houston game today. I like Duke Johnson to have a nice day there, and we'll see how Mike Evans and the rest of the Buccaneers do respond after just a pretty pathetic performance in Week 9. And anytime you can have Alvin Kamara in there, you got the Eagles defense versus the Giants, which last week was the first time Daniel Jones did not turn the ball over. So we'll see if he can continue that, or if the Eagles will be a very solid play this week. So all in all, I do like the Bumblebees in this matchup. I think that they will go to 6-4, which again, we talked about it a couple weeks back when I had Will on the weekly preview. It's and Batter the week prior to that. Very tough league to get into the playoffs. The records are very tight, and in many ways, it's probably going to come down to overall points, because that I think ultimately I'd have to check with our commissioner, but I believe that it is the tiebreaker. Should there be the same record for more than the teams that would make the playoffs. So again, to kind of sum up, we have 1, 2, 3, we have 4, 5. We have 5 teams within about 70 points of the overall KOP. It's going to be an interesting day. We'll see if the projections hold up. Can I win my 3rd consecutive King of Points this week? I sure hope so. Enjoy the action. We've got the Masters. We've got the NFL. It's just an incredible day to be a sports fan. A cloudy, potentially rainy day later on, so a good day to stay inside and enjoy all the action. So thanks so much, everyone, for joining me sorry about that. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining me for another fantasy football preview, and we will talk to you next week.